So you guys probably remember the super time-consuming implicit bias training we had to do at the beginning of the year during our WOW week. Well, it's probably been kind of annoying to do right off the bat of the year, just having like 4 to 6 hours of work. It actually holds an incredible significance in our legal system, at least the implicit bias does. Just to remind you guys as to what implicit bias is, it is defined by Harvard as the possession of unconscious associations which can affect our decisions, behaviors, and interactions with others. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about a serious ongoing issue about how implicit biases detrimental effect on our legal system and a possible solution for this. So you're asking yourself, like, oh, why go ahead and pick a topic like this? Well, although I haven't been affected by it directly myself, I have had family members and some close friends affected by it in one way or another. To go ahead and give you guys an example, a couple friends of mine who have been subject to this for like the most minor of offenses. On the left is my friend Ian, and on the right is my friend Ozzy. So back home, the both of them would ride their bikes to and from school. So a normal type of thing to do if you don't have your car. And the thing is, though, Ian, he wouldn't really wear his bike helmet often, and the cops over there back home in Bakersfield, they're kind of strict on that rule, so they often go ahead, pull him over, give him warnings, on occasion even tickets. You just go ahead and go to the court and go down to the courthouse and just get that appealed or get the fine at least reduced. Ozzy never really got a ticket for whatever reason, but last year he did, and when he went to get his appealed, for whatever reason, the judge, even though he didn't have any prior offenses, the judge said no. It just doesn't seem kind of fair to me. And I'm going to start you guys off on just like what kind of biases there are within the court cases. Give you guys a little grasp of the disparity and how severe some of them are. I'm going to introduce you to the most common biases, which are which start off with is first race-related, and the other one is gender-related. No one's surprised, according to an article by the Washington Post, published in 2017, from 2011 to 2016, as you can see on the graph, African Americans still serve nearly 20% longer than Caucasians despite having similar backgrounds and done the same crimes. And to go ahead and illustrate this image a little more, according to the ACLU, aka the American Civil Liberties Union, nationally 77% of juveniles, so not adults but minors, who are serving life without parole are either Latino or African American. Little race, but that's just how it is. And the other implicit bias that there is, like I said before, is gender-based, which is also a pretty serious issue. We're going to back it up as like why is it so serious. According to Professor Starr's 2012 paper, Estimating Gender Disparities in Federal Criminal Cases, men receive on average 63% longer sentences than women do for having done the same crimes. And additionally, women are also twice as likely to go ahead and avoid incarceration compared to the men. Like again, despite having the same backgrounds and maybe like done the same crimes beforehand, or similar cases, they still are twice likely to go ahead and avoid incarceration. This data, of course, is based on U.S. federal court case, so it's a pretty reliable source if you have that data to back it up. And to go ahead, just give you an example of how severe this is. According to the New York Times in '86, a brother and sister, well, very much so adults, so not minors, so it's not like, oh, they didn't know better. They were both convicted in a co-conspiracy of the murder of a woman named Etta Ann Ordiales. The catch here is that she was indeed murdered by the siblings. The thing is, though, originally in court, they started going ahead and playing the blame game. And initially, they went ahead and blamed the brother, convicted him of the murder, despite there being some discrepancy as to whether or not he was actually the one who killed her. Sentenced him to death. They sentenced him to death, and I believe it was in '93. He was actually sentenced to death and executed. And then a couple of years after that, I believe it was in the early 2000s, they found out that the sister was actually the one who had who fired the shot on the lady, but her lawyers and herself were able to go ahead and somehow convince the jury that she killed the woman through an accidental misfire, and she was only sentenced to 10 years. And now that you guys have a basic understanding of like how severe the biases are that exist within our legal system, I have a proposition for how to go ahead and tackle the issue. I propose that in court cases where we have like prosecutors and defendants, we go ahead and remove 3 things: names, gender, and race/ethnicity. Why remove these things? Well, if you go ahead and get rid of these, you're going to have much more of a chance for a fair trial. And the idea is that this will go ahead and eliminate any kind of biases that might be with a judge or with just a jury, because there are often been cases of like a mostly white or an all-white jury going to condemn an African American of a really small crime and giving them a really harsh sentence. which again isn't really too fair. So through just redacting that information from them, you would be able to go ahead and eliminate this bias. Of course, you may be thinking, oh well, like what about them being in court? There have been some propositions like going ahead and just using some kind of CCTV type method or some other form. Like just the main premise of this method is to go ahead and if you go ahead and eliminate the prosecutor and the defendant, you should just remove them, or just knowing those characteristics about them, you should be able to eliminate this bias. Some of you guys might be skeptical at this idea, like, oh, why don't you just go ahead and up the ante on the bias training that judges might receive, or just make the screening more rigorous for the jury. Because typically, when you're going into jury duty, you go ahead and do a little bit of the screening to see if you have any kind of bias. So go ahead and make the trial a little fair. Three typical issues that come about with this are that, one, it's more costly to go ahead and train judges for implicit bias. Two, it's more time and resources to go ahead and they're going to make the screenings more rigorous for the jury. So then also, like, I know you guys don't want to go in. I don't know if you guys have gone to jury duty, but it's a pretty lengthy. It takes up a lot amount of time, and so I know you guys don't want to be in there for too long. So why go ahead and make that longer? And third issue is that regardless if you go ahead and up the ante on the training, according to the 2018 Indiana Journal of Law and Social Equality, it is highly unlikely to fully eliminate bias from judges via training of simply how we did, like maybe 2 to 4 hours, or even like a very official training of 2 months, as these values have been a part of most of their lives. And so, here's my guess to the well, how do you go and support a type of change where we go in and sort of anonymize the defendant and the prosecutor? Well, if you want to get the ball rolling, you guys could go. I could urge you guys to go ahead and call your senators. On screen, I have the contact information for one of the senators for the state of California, for Senator Feinstein, and as well as like what times you can call her, where to contact her, and whatnot.